little bit different this year in comparison to what we did last year. So we're going to go ahead and do a small panel here, so I'd like you to join me in welcoming three folks to the stage. We've got Belinda Moss from Williamson, Tim Harper from Seminole, and R.J. Gravel from Johnsburg. So to get started, I'm just going to run through a few questions here, folks, and you kind of chime in, and certainly feel free to comment in coordination with everybody else. But to get started here, let's start with Belinda, since you're down there on the end. Tell us a little bit about how your district has changed in the past few years as it relates to technology.
Well, looking at technology overall, I can remember the days when we used to beg people to use technology, but certainly that's not a problem. Now it's a race for us to keep up with the demands of our district. We've been in a 4-year implementation of a BYOT. Everything has moved either to a cloud or to a web-based product. We integrate over 30 products for our students district-wide and man those products every day. Our parents are very concerned, like yours are, about privacy needs. We've gone district-wide wireless, and certainly social media has both a positive and negative impact on our work.
Arjun?
I think there's a reality that probably many of us in this room face, and that's that we're always trying to do more with less. So as different areas of our school budgets have been decreasing, we've seen a slight increase in the amount of money that we spend in technology with the full goal of getting a lot back for what we're getting. And I think if we look specifically in our classrooms, what we've seen is technology is not something that's brought to students anymore. Technology has become natural within each and every one of our classrooms. It's becoming much more personal. It's becoming a natural element of our students' day from the beginning of the day all the way to the end of the day, and then extending beyond as we expand those walls of the classroom. And I think, just as you mentioned, that our society is changing into this software as a service concept. And I think for the first time, technology is nothing new, but as this rapid expansion of digital technology is happening, we're finding teachers realizing that they can't just stay within their comfort zone. They're going to have to start changing how they do things. And we're seeing that it's a lot easier to get technology adopted by educators from 1 year of experience to 45 years of experience, quicker and easier than we have for many years.
One of the things that we're doing in Seminole County, we serve 67,000 students and approximately 8,000 employees, and I would say that what RJ and Belinda have mentioned, we're doing all of those. For 2015-16, we will have our first BYOD policy, so that's a big challenge for us. I think it's really a mindset change in Seminole County. What we're trying to do in the IT department, and I'm an educator by background, but we're trying to change from being a department or a business unit that dictates what technology is being used in the district and in the classrooms, to being at the table with the teaching and learning department, the instructional element, and kind of bringing that operational and instructional sides together and making sure that we support what the students have. I really think that there's a major shift going on in public education throughout the United States right now, especially with all the choices that students and families have on where they're going to go to school. In Florida, where, as many of you in other states, we're a big charter school state. So parents and students have a lot of options of where they can go, and of course what kind of technology they can bring to schools. So what we want to do is make sure that we are competitive in that marketplace, and we want to make sure that students in Seminole County have the most, or the best educational opportunity in the state of Florida. And with that, our big push right now under our superintendent's leadership is digital and blended learning, and I'll say a little bit more about that later.
Great. Well, and kind of going on that a little bit, I mean, how do you see technology being used to actually impact student achievement? And what are some recommendations that you would provide or suggest on that?
Well, first of all, with digital learning, gone are the days, and I think most of you in here, I'll just look for some heads that nod. We're on a 180-day school year in Florida. That's by statute, Florida statute. And when you throw in, we do a little bit of testing in Florida.
We do in Chicago too.
By the time you throw those testing days, which I see some of my peers from Florida in here, which we're right in the middle of that right now, by the time you take out the testing days, you're probably down to about 150 instructional days. So I remember years ago, I've been in education nearly 20 years now, You know, years ago in the IT department, it was okay to say, well, we'll get around to getting that kid loaded in the LMS, 10 years ago, maybe in about 3 or 4 days. We can't afford that any longer, and that's where Skyward has been a big help to us. It can't be near time. That was the big buzzword several years ago. It has to be real time, because every minute counts for student learning in the classroom and the effort that the teacher is making in the classroom with our students. So technology partnered with Skyward is really helping us move into that real-time direction so that we don't lose literally 1 minute of instruction. Our district has, of course, the mantra of 24/7 learning for students. So if they want to learn while they're on spring break next week, we want to provide them that opportunity. And I'm sure most of our students will choose to use them.
So I think there's a reality that we know about in education, and that is that a single letter grade is not a great indicator of a student's progress, performance, or success in the classroom. There are many folks in the literature that will say it comes down to more than just A, B, C, and D. And one of the things that Skyward has allowed us to do is to begin transitioning what has become very mainstay, very commonplace in our lives, which are basic report cards, and transitioning into a standards-based system. There's a reality that a parent's role in their education should not only occur 8 times a year when progress reports and report cards go out. Instead, we should have parents involved in their education and be aware of their students' progress throughout their entire academic journey each year. In Illinois, congratulations, you get 6 more days. We only get 174 days, and like you said, about 30 of them are taken up in state testing. So making sure that we have services in place, using that technology, and making sure that information about a student's progress is not just sitting there, but it's being pushed out to our parents, so that it's right there in their face, making it accessible, is really critical to us. And similar to what you had mentioned regarding blended learning and online learning and things of that nature, we really believe that technology has opened a window to our students' academic experience. Through using services like the Course Learning Center, our parents actually get to see exactly what their students are getting in class. They're getting to see those notes that used to be just written on the board, and now they're being uploaded. They can play as active as a role as they want to. The only catch that we as educational leaders are charged with is making sure that our teachers understand the technology available for them, and most importantly, that they're leveraging it and they have the support and skills that are going to help them do that.
And I would only follow up by saying that for us it's key to align and leverage everything that Skyward has within their product as a single source of information. I know that sounds like a plug, but the reality is the more that we can help people understand the connections between the product that they're using each and every day to the real work of the district, and that's teaching and learning of our students, then the more success we'll have. So in looking at the reality of education and being ready on the very first instructional day with over 30 products and having accounts for all of those 30 products available to our students, and then being able to utilize Skyward to create those accounts, that wasn't the real reason we chose Skyward, but it's certainly been a benefit. And that's just one example of the bigger picture of how technology and alignment with your true district plan makes a difference for boys and girls.
Continuing on, all 3 of you mentioned comments that relate to this, but it certainly is a key part of staff being able to effectively use this technology. Can you talk a little bit about your goals and expectations from a professional development standpoint for your staff? And how did you go about building a program that was effective? Linda, go ahead.
I'd like to share some stats because in preparation for our brief talk with you today, I was amazed by what we had accomplished. So a couple of things I'll mention to you is just during the summer as a year 1 district, we just completed our year 1 implementation. I'll show you the bruises and the battle scars and all that if you'd like to see them. But this summer we offered 2,783 professional development sessions for a school district of about 35,000 students. And we covered 14 different topics, but 1/4 of those were technology sessions. So if we drill down, one of the features that we've utilized is the PDC this year. And just in this brief amount of time, our employees have participated in 739,062 activities in the PDC. That went a long way toward meeting the needs of real-time learning for our teachers and on-demand learning. They don't have to wait for our help desk to answer questions. They can look them up themselves. But we also value face-to-face learning. So we've offered over 90 face-to-face sessions with our teachers that were conducted by Skyward. And then, in addition, 82 site-based facility professional development opportunities to follow up, turnaround trainings to go to leaders with leaders. So for us, we believe that professional development is the foundation, and we choose not to implement anything if we can't pay for the professional development to support it, because in the end, we know that that's going to be the key to our success.
I think I'll add in just a little bit regarding professional development. Similar to Belinda, we offered those sessions in person and face-to-face, but I really want to drive home the importance that as technology leaders, as educators, we know that a teacher's job is not only between bell to bell and within the four walls of their building. A lot of work is happening on the weekend, a lot of work is happening at night. And when a teacher is working on something and they run into a snag, a hiccup, they have a question, they need guidance, they want just-in-time support. They need to have access to the support documentation, honestly the same documentation that we use, and they also need to know a single place to go so that if they have a question, they can likely go to that location, get some asynchronous help where maybe there's video tutorials or screencasts, maybe there's written documentation, but we need, all of us, need to not only leverage what our providers and our service providers are providing, but we also need to generate some of our own content because we know how to communicate with our staff. We know where our staff is, from the most basic technology integrators to our most advanced users. And we need to provide tiers of that support, again, in a very on-demand fashion. For Life is all about Comcast, if you didn't know.
So adding on to what RJ mentioned, same thing in Seminole County. We're making a shift not only for students, but for educators and other professional staff members in the district. As the generations shift through our system, they're going to expect to have that on-demand or just-in-time professional development. And I don't know if you share the experiences that I've seen in public education, but it seems like we get trapped into PD offerings that are, for whatever reason, the magic number of 3 hours. You have 3 hours of training and teachers go to that, and by God, you're going to fill up 3 hours of professional development. What we have not done a good job of nationally, I think, is closing the loop, and that's one of the big pushes we have in Seminole County right now. And closing the loop, by that I mean, what impact is that professional development having back in the classroom with our students? So we don't follow up, we don't evaluate those professional development activities, and they don't have to be 3 hours. Like you said, RJ, they can be 5-minute video clips. We have students now, you know, Khan Academy is kind of becoming, I think it's a great tool, but it's not new now, right? It's kind of becoming a thing of the past, but still very much used. We're trying to develop that type of a concept for PD so the teachers can go out and pick up that 5, 10, 15-minute video clip from home, and that is a professional development activity for them. So that's kind of where we're headed.
Now, talking a little bit more about with Skyward itself and the use in your district, can you tell me a little bit about what you see in your districts doing to get more out of your Skyward solution in the future? Good, start with you.
Well, as I mentioned before, Kevin and I were actually talking about this at breakfast this morning. It seems like you cannot get a vendor to come in and offer an on-premise solution now. Everybody wants to go to the cloud or they want to host it on their servers. And I'm okay with that. But with Skyward, again, what we've been able to do is leverage that technology, which I won't mention the system we were on. We've been on Skyward for 4 years. But what Skyward has done is allowed us to have a centralized database so that we can provision, whether it's on-premise or cloud-based or hosted by the vendor, we can provision those systems immediately, if we so choose. Sometimes we do that in a 24-hour cycle. Some of those systems are populated with our student data immediately. What Skyward has helped us to do, which, you know, there was a possibility we'd still be in the dark ages with technology, but we are centralized now. We were distributed. We had 60 sites running their own student information system at those sites with 60 different servers. We had a lot of resources that, both human personnel resources and hardware resources that were wrapped up into our previous system. Skyward has helped us grow leaps and bounds in the world of technology and really just help with our students and their achievement. I think the most popular thing, and I'm looking back at my team, the most popular thing in Skyward right now and in the foreseeable future is simply the communication. And I say simply because oftentimes we don't think about it. but family access and that portal for family members and students alike is critical so that they have that information when they need it.
There's a small group in Skyward that I'm sure when they see an email come across their desk from me, they're probably like, who has to deal with RJ next? But it's a wonderful group of folks, and it's called the Custom Reporting Group. The Custom Reporting Group allows us to put that information in the Skyward that we normally put in, create custom forms to put different information in, and then they produce it in a form using services like Crystal Reports and things of that, exactly the way we need it. There's a very clear reality. Before I was a technology director, I was a music teacher. So I'm creative, I know exactly what I want, but sometimes I don't know and I don't have the own skill set to produce what I'm looking for. And while there's certainly solutions such as My District 360, sometimes even those solutions don't produce exactly what we're looking for. We really appreciate the concept of being able to leverage our financial management system, our human resource management system, and our student management system, put the information in there, and then work with Skyward at a very reasonable cost in order to produce the reports that we're looking for. And what I think is even a little more exciting is as we invest money, as we create these reports, we don't just create them for our own district. We're a big fan of then providing and sharing those reports with other districts. So how have we used Skyward? We've leveraged your custom reporting group, the same data we have in, but we're getting it into ways and in the forms that we need, that our parents need, and that our employees need to be successful. And please, share your reports. That'd be a very nice thing.
And that being said, I look forward to seeing my email tonight where I can get the report you just
Absolutely.
mentioned. I've got it captured on camera now, so all is good. I would just follow up by saying saving taxpayer dollars and then increasing efficiencies are two big goals I think that we all share. And so we're in the process right now working with Skyward to move another product's purpose into Skyward, and we're moving our district benchmark assessments from a third party to Skyward and being able to increase the efficiencies of our teachers so they can sign into one place, same with our parents and our students, and see the results of pre and post test on those district benchmarks, again, through Skyward. So thank you.
Just to wrap up the panel then, let's go just real quickly, tell us, what was the biggest challenge that you feel that you overcame by going with Skyward?
Well, I'm going to go in a direction again that wasn't the real purpose that we chose the product, and that is with over 30 products that our students use each and every day in their instructional program at various grade levels. We always had a real challenge in managing accounts for those students. So we decided to reinvent the way that we issue our student accounts through LDEP integration and so forth, and use the Skyward format for our usernames and passwords. And using that as our foundation then, we changed the format of all of our other product integrations to utilize that same format so that all of our students and end users could log in with one set of credentials and be done. At the same time, our superintendent requires us to have every product ready to go on the first day of school. And so making that happen through being able to create those accounts, rather an automated process or an export process, we were able to accomplish that goal. And I want to say it wasn't easy, and we had some tough conversations as we went through the process, but I'll have to compliment the folks at Skyward. They understood it was important to us, and they made sure that we were able to be successful.
Ultimately, our teachers, our employees, our parents are looking for one thing: a system that is simply online, that they can access, and that works. The last thing they want to see is an error that says we can't get here. Oh, I'm sorry, this is closed for maintenance. So while it's not directly Skyward, one of the things that so many school districts in Illinois face is that we can't afford to maintain our own network specialists. We can't maintain network and database engineers. And as a result, we've been looking and working with third-party providers to host our databases. And this is kind of my unofficial shout out to the folks over at IS Corp. Because without their support, without their low-cost initiative and their partnership with Skyward, we would not be able really to brag about what I would argue is close to a 99% uptime. So with the partnerships that Skyward has developed with third-party providers such as ISCorp, we've really been able to do ultimately what we need to do, which is serve our community and make sure that they have the tools they need when they need them.
Well, I'll probably disappoint you on this because we had a pretty insignificant rollout. It was, you know, I know you may chuckle at that, but it was pretty painless. And as far as going to a new student system, we were on our former student system for about 10, 11 years, and everybody was set in their ways, so there were some challenges with that, but we overcame that. Fortunately, we were at the end of life with our former student information system, so there wasn't much anybody could do about it. Probably the biggest challenge looking back once we got through the RFP process, which was a challenge in and of itself, was the fact that we actually had a project plan, and I'm a big believer in project management and public education and don't believe that we do enough of it in Florida. I'll stop short of saying anything about the DOE, Candy. But we had an 18-month project put together. Kevin, when did I'm going to put you on the spot. We signed, I think, in October or November. That doggone project plan got pushed back about 6 months, 6 to 8 months, and we wound up having about 7 months to put this in place. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yes. So it was a challenge because we had to change that schedule, and I didn't know how we were going to do it, but we've got great people in Seminole County, from the classroom all the way to the district office, and we managed to roll out a student system in that short period of time. And just like you said, we opened the school year up 4 years ago, and it was fairly painless looking back on it. I've had worse experiences. This one was a great one. Thank you, Skyler.
You bet. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming up here. I hope everybody enjoyed the panel. I know it's not easy to have to draw you up on stage and get you in front of your peers like this, but I really appreciate it. If you please join me and give them a round of applause.